Thank you, Lauren. You need a roll call, please?
Counselor Bradshaw,
Here.
Counselor Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Here.
Mayor Becker,
Here.
Counselor Naranjo will be late, and Counselor Segola will not be present this evening. He has been excused, and Counselor Naranjo has been excused as well.
Have a quorum.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Any modifications to the agenda?
No, sir.
The approval of the consent agenda minutes of regular meeting from February 5th and approval of accounts payable.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda for the minutes of regular meeting from February 5th, 2026 and approval of accounts payable. Is there any discussion? Unita?
Counselor Bradshaw,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Becker,
Yes.
motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. We'll move on to citizen comments and special presentations. Citizen comments, city council welcomes your unscheduled, excuse me, comments. Limit your comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at the same meeting. Margot?
Yes, Mayor.
You're our citizen.
I am, and I'm proud of it. By God, what better country can we live in than this country? So, anyway, hi, everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day. I just love the sign. Oh, that is just too cool when you drive by and see that. I was hoping it would stay up. So, I just, things are going well. People are starting to clean up yards and vehicles being towed away and different things, and spring is coming, and we're going to start working in the gardens in a couple of months, and it's a joy. Again, thank you for doing the job you are doing, and I think you guys are doing a pretty dadgum good job, so thank you.
Thank you.
And you too, young lady.
Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Glover? Would you like to have something on citizen comments? No, sir. Thank you. Judy, citizen comments? All right, we'll move on to scheduled appearances. In order to be on this, be included on this portion of the agenda, you have to file that paperwork with the city clerk no later than noon on Monday prior to the meeting. TEMS update. Corporal Hill.
Thank you, sir. Just a quick update on the tactical emergency medical program with the police department. In 2025, the Thames responded to 14 critical incidents for care in the community and had 3 tactical standbys. Year to date for 2026, there's been 4 incidents. Critical care incidents ranged from unconscious parties due to blood sugar issues, overdoses that took multiple rounds of Narcan and oxygen administration, gunshot wounds, and car accidents with multiple patients. The average early response time for Thames from EMS was 11 minutes. And Dr. Hurley, we're working on finalizing the contract for him through 2026.
Pretty good.
That's our update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Environmental Protection Agency multi-purpose brownfields update. Mr. Enderby.
Nobody's here to spend like that money. Who never leaves. And neither does the committee. Slideshow, please.
So you guys had a 1-pager in your
in your packet that kind of gives some of the information. But I thought that it would be a good time to go ahead and provide a more robust review. Since Stretch isn't here and Vic's not here. I was given some of this because the newer ones haven't been on, and then also we've moved along quite quickly and efficiently for federal processes. So, do you want me to click the little thing, or do you want me to say next?
It's broken.
Oh.
I'd order a new one.
Do you have somebody with it?
Screw it at you.
So just a quick overview. It was $1 million non-matching grant fund from the EPA. And its intent is for the city of Monte Vista, and it's to identify and remediate blighted properties. What we mean by that is properties that are gonna have construction that need asbestos, lead, mold abatement. And it can be used in both public and private spaces. So we've done almost all the city properties, or we will be doing the city properties with a couple of exceptions. And then we've also done some privately owned businesses. We actually have, I think, one privately owned house on the agenda as well. The requirements of it are they're specific, but the buildings and things that we can do is pretty broad. It's a multi-purpose grant. The only requirement was $300,000 of it had to be spent on abatement inside city buildings, and we had 2 identified as priorities. And then the other remaining $700,000 could be all in assessment or assessment and abatement. So that's kind of what the money is being used for. And the biggest thing is like a couple of years ago, Colorado passed some rules on what is required when you take things to the dump. So now if you take any construction debris, you have to have a demolition permit. And that demolition permit will ask the information about the building, and then it will tell them whether or not they have to have an asbestos test. So anytime we were doing any kind of demolition or construction, we needed to have those tests done, as well as some of the businesses. And it's kind of, it's not cost prohibitive. You'll see in some of the prices later that it is quite expensive to do it the way that the EPA and CDPHE wants it done. So the biggest thing that we're doing here is we're making sure that as many people as we can do things that are compliant in ways that won't get us or the landfill in trouble. Next slide. So this is kind of where we're at. City Hall is in progress. We're in phase 2. Phase 2 is, they did a phase 1, which is a whole bunch of paper chase. What did the building used to be used for? What's the surrounding buildings used for? What they're looking for there is there a potential for in-ground tanks? Was there dry cleaning nearby where the soil could be contaminated? So phase 1 is a paper chase. Phase 2 is where they came in and they collected about 300 samples inside City Hall and tested the various things. And they went through 117 Adams, and then also the old pro shop at the golf course. Those are the 3 that are phase 3 is, or phase 2 is pretty much done. We're working on some final documentation. 137 Adams, which is the theater. 99 Broadway, which is a building that was owned by the Boys and Girls Club. And 401 Ulysses, which is the old Whispering Pines Motel, were also tested. So all of those are under review by the engineers to make sure that all the testing is complete and like they have a good analysis of what we need to do next. And the airport terminal and 1005 Second Avenue are in phase 1. So they're currently doing the paper chase for those ones. Those were recently added. The airport terminal got added because when we were walking through, or when someone was walking through, they realized that there was some 9-inch tiles. And 9-inch tiles are 99% of the time have asbestos in them. So we added that building in, and then 1005 is the old American Legion building, across from Stars and Strikes. And so that one is, they're looking to remodel it. And so we might as well help them get through that by using the grant money to do so. Next slide. Technical findings. City Hall has a lot. It'll be a beast when we get to the part where we can remove it. 390 different mercury bulbs, 200 PCB ballasts. So the grant will work on removing all of those things. Golf course had regulated, that did not spell check very well, asbestos containing materials in the ceilings and joint compounds and high lead concentrations. That building and then the cart shed building has a lot in it. 117 Adams has asbestos containing materials, and the biggest thing with that one is it has as one of the engineers said, indoor rain. So it destroyed the compounds, which created a dust. So not only did it have asbestos, but now it's in an aerosol form inside the building itself. So what we did in that one was we put a sign on the front of the back door that says you can't enter without permission. But all of those 3 facilities are owned by the city, which means they all fall underneath that multi-purpose grant for abatement. So even though it is going to be expensive, we should be able to accomplish most of that with abatement. Abatement can take a lot of different forms. We can either encapsulate, meaning just cover, or we can completely remove, or we can do a combination thereof. And really what it's going to come down to is a decision on what's cost effective, what makes sense and what doesn't. And will be depending on our engineers, our consultants, to kind of help us guys do that to make the best decisions when we get to that point. So next page. So I said it costs a little bit. City Hall so far is at 40,000. And each one of these had a cap of that 40,500, and we hit the cap. Even though they did more testing and they spent a little more, the cap of those rooms was all set at 40,000. That's where all of those are at. Ulysses on 99 Broadway was much cheaper. However, I do expect them to go up once we finish the site assessments are done. So our cumulative total so far is just over $140,000. So we're moving through the money of just not too bad. And the grant itself, I will say, is probably the easiest one I've ever worked with, because some of it's the way that we set it up. So our consultant writes all the reports for us, and we just hit submit. But it's the only grant where I've ever been able to put it into the system that day. The next day, it hits our account. So before you sign the check to pay our consultants, we've already received the money. So as far as that goes, it's much more efficient than any other grant I've worked with. So the biggest pain so far has been the Section 106 reviews, which is the National Historic Preservation Act. Anything the EPA touches that is over 50 years old has to have this clearance, and it takes about 4 to 6 weeks, and it costs about $4,500 per site. So I just approved that budget increase for the various buildings to get those done on anything over 50 years old, which is all of them. So that's being done right now. It didn't used to be required, but I guess the National Historic Society or somebody got mad because they weren't doing it on all of them, so they added it and changed it. Hey, Judge. So what we're going to do next is they're going to finalize the scope of work for decontamination, and then get it approved through the EPA and through CDPHE. This is an important step because this will be what sets the RFPs so that we can do the abatement. And Terracon will be creating that request for proposal for us. They'll be sending it out, and then we're going to kind of make some choices at that point on what we manage versus what we have them manage, and that's going to come down to cost. If I have to manage the general contractor because then I don't have to pay Terracon to do it and the budget gets kind of tight, that's what we'll do. If we can afford to do so, I'd rather have the consultant manage all of that stuff. Just because it's a lot of stress on me. But they'll coordinate the abatement bids and help us work through all of that. And then we're going to manage the site eligibility determination and hazmat reviews for the new ones that we add. Because we're going to continue to add them over time. Next, please. So meeting EPA and CDPHE mandates is a big thing. Every building it touches, we have to meet those mandates. We have to follow the rules and regulations. And failure to do some of them could potentially result in us losing the grants and having to do repayment. So every step along the way, I'm taking my time, working with Terracon, making sure that we check all those blocks for every building so that nothing bites us. And so far, nothing has. And some of that's by identifying hazards early. First thing they do is they send down a guy, his name's James. James comes down and looks at the building and identifies everything that could potentially need tested. And then he gives me some assessments on how much that's going to cost and whether or not it's feasible, and kind of gives me a couple of other items that I should pay attention to. And then the idea is we're going to transform the blighted assets, right? 117 Adams can be a functioning business again once it gets a lot of work. You know, the of it, once it's done, we can potentially, part ways through a request for proposal or either of those things. 99 Broadway is actually already flipped to a new owner, partially through this process. And he's going to finish the abatement, the new owner will. So we're seeing those things being done. it's actually making a positive impact. It is a slow process. I think Gigi is gonna, jump up and down with joy when we finally get the floor tore out. We put down the carpet we paid for like 2 years ago. But it's a slow process, but it is moving forward and we are getting things done. And a lot of times it's not us, it's not our consultant, it's waiting for the next thing. We have all of our stuff for the sections 106 is already turned in, but it's gonna take time to get there and get it back for those guys. Because they said they have a maximum of a certain amount of days. They have never gotten it back before the maximum days. So, this is what it is. Next, please. All right. Next item on the agenda.
So a question for you. The 401 Ulysses,
Mhm.
that's privately owned, right?
Yes,
Is that just part of that building or is that all the?
they tested all of the various buildings throughout the property because it's all one parcel. So they tested the old abandoned piece, they tested the single family home, and they also tested the apartments throughout. So, and the testing is done, and actually Terracon is helping us identify routes because it's privately owned, so there is no money out there for it from, our standpoint. We can't help them do abatement. But they are helping identify ways that you can potentially get low and no interest loans and or some grant money that's out there for old abandoned buildings. So they're actually helping find some grants for the owner to work through.
And the clubhouse is being abated due to the fact that it's gonna go away, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's what I thought, so I wanna make sure.
And then here at City Hall, once we get to just talking about City Hall, we're gonna have to have a good discussion on whether we just cover it up and seal it, or do we go ahead and remove it? And it's gonna take some logistic challenges as we move around the building, because whatever's being done to it, we're gonna have to relocate. So we haven't put together that whole plan yet, but it's gonna be an opportunity.
And a lot of that, the planning portion will be done in that scope of work. Like whether it's done by phase or whether it's done by, one half the building, the other half the building. That'll be done inside the scope of work. Because the engineer that came out and looked at it, basically he's like, as long as we can separate the air handling systems and we can shut out, the air handling from point A to point B, then we continue to work in some of the parts of the building while the other parts are being worked on. They just have to be sealed off. So it'll be fun.
I like your attitude.
If you're not having fun, why play?
We'll all be relocating to the Public Works building out on Sherman.
We have a big complex out on Sherman Avenue.
That's true. Yeah, but Mervin's busy booking events.
You said public works.
Any other questions on the EPA portion? And Stretch, I can send you the slideshow or you need it, Ken,
Yeah.
so that you catch up on the earlier parts.
Sounds good, thank you.
Are you doing the next one too, DJ?
Mhm.
We'll move on to the Federal Highway Administration Safety Streets Action Plan from Roxall.
Yep, so this is the SS4A grants that we got from the Federal Highway Administration. And the Roxel and it's Derek and Meredith are actually online as well. So if you have any questions for the consultants, by all means, they can answer them. And this portion of it is a plan. Next slide. So this is what it is. And the important parts to remember with this is it doesn't actually physically do something for us. It creates the opportunity for us to do things down the road. This is the action plan portion of the grant. Later, there's an implementation phase of the grant that we can apply for once this portion is done. So it's an important part, but there won't be a whole lot of like, ooh, look, this was shiny and it was completed. That's not how this part will work. This will be more of a, this is what we want to do in the future, and this is why, and this is the data that goes behind it. It is locally controlled. The The consulting group that we have has taken a bunch of data from PD. Josh has been giving them a bunch. We're waiting for some more to get redacted. So all of our crash data going back, I think 5 years, if I remember right, talking about where the accidents were, whether there was pedestrians involved, whether there was a fatality, and those kinds of things are all kind of updated. So it takes all of that information and then it looks individually at streets. There's a steering committee that will be involved, and the steering committee will help drive what that action plan looks like. And as I talked to Roxol this week at our bi-weekly meeting, we were talking about our focus areas. So the city has, give or take, 30 miles of roads, and a lot of it needs some work in one way or another. But there's no way for them to say, hey, we need sidewalks on every road. There's no way to support that. So they're going to take the steering committees and the staff and PD's input on anecdotally, or we can prove by data that these are the important corridors that need work to improve safety. This is a road that all kids walk on to go to school, or this is heavily trafficked because of these other reasons. So they'll identify those heavy traffic areas, and then they'll say, hey, these are the areas we should focus on. And we'll talk about what happens afterwards in a little bit later. Next slide. So this is why it's important for us. There's a lot of times when we see people and we hear online and we talk to people and they're complaining about, you know, oh, there's kids riding sidewalk or other skateboards on the sidewalk. Well, where else would you like them to ride? Hey, there's kids walking in the street. I almost hit one. Well, where do you want them to walk? There's no sidewalk. You know, so these are the things that this sets up the idea and sets the narrative for us to be able to apply for the SS4A grant implementation, the Safe Routes to School, the RISE, which is now another one. I can't remember what the new acronym is for the RISE grant, which is also a DOT grant. But it sets us up for those things. It makes us eligible for those state and federal funding that otherwise we don't have. 99% of the time when you write a grant for something, they want to know, is it in a master plan? Is it in a safety plan? What creates the need for this project? And right now, I would be hard pressed to be like, sidewalks are in a portion of a plan. They are actually in a couple, but it's very rare that we can find it in a plan that's newer than, say, 2006 and maybe 2009. So next slide. It is a planning and prioritization tool, as I've been talking about. There will be a steering committee and public meetings to discuss it. So it'll be community driven. And it is a grant readiness framework. It'll help us create ways to make grants work. It doesn't drive immediate construction, and it's not going to change speeds and increase safety automatically. That's just not what it's designed to do. Next. So this is kind of where we're at right now. We're reviewing the data, and we're talking to Public Works via the streets. We're talking to the police department. We're talking to Pat Sullivan with the fire department. Anybody basically that has information on safety, and we're trying to get that information on what they believe is high risk and high priority areas. We're looking at the roadway designs. I believe everybody could probably point out a place where it's badly designed in town. You know, we could look at the one-way bridge where Newcomb meets Asakia. You know, that's a badly designed little spot right there. Other places where we have some bridges that we may or may not know the engineered structural capacity of them. So looking at those kinds of things and identifying that data. Looking for ways for people to walk and bike, and then review of overall traffic operations and speeds. And some of that will be done through data collection that is through the Colorado Department of Transportation. Some of it will be done through a traffic counter that we're buying with this grant. And some of it will be done with a traffic trailer, which does speed and traffic count, which we are also buying through this grant. So instead of borrowing from Rio Grande County, we'll actually have our own at that point. So next slide. Then we'll be moving into public engagement. The public workshops and meetings will be done both online and in person. Our first stakeholder meeting is going to be probably the first week of March, and that'll be done as probably a combination between the two. There's going to be some online surveys and mapping tools. And the project website, which I'll show you at the end of the presentation, is already ready to go. It has not, I know it's live, but I don't think it's connected to anything on our system yet. And then we'll be working with Spanish language outreach, and then working with the schools and businesses to help identify their ideas, needs, and concerns. So we'll be doing a lot of community engagement to try to get the plan to where we want it to be. Next slide. Then we'll start working through, and a lot of this will come both from our consultant and from the steering committee, in creating the strategy so that we can have a plan that fits us. So, you know, Rob knows a lot about streets. Andrew knows a lot about streets. Our traffic engineers on this know a lot about streets. We have 2 members of CDOT on the steering committee, so they're also very informed. So we should have some very good, knowledgeable people that can help drive that strategy so that when we get done with the plan, it's something that we can actually execute on. Next slide. Then we'll start to set out that framework into short, long-term, medium-term. And the biggest portion is, or the biggest concern, I should say, it's not a portion, is the funding strategy and how do we fund those projects. And that'll be through more grant writing and that kind of stuff. And then there is a portion where for the next few years, we'll be doing performance tracking. Did we reduce the amount of accidents? Did we reduce the speed count? Did we change the behavior of the residents as far as where they walk and drive? Next. This is how that kind of looks. The original timeline was going to be 24 months. Working with Roxel, they think that they can get it accomplished at a much faster rate. The original timeline was something that the Federal Highway Administration suggested. And really what it came down to is we could have a meeting once every 2, maybe 3 months, or we could have a meeting once a month and get it done faster because we're only just over 2.3 miles total. So to take 2 years to create a plan seemed a little bit ridiculous. And then if we wait 3 months between meetings, it's like, well, what did we talk about last time? So after talking with Roxel, it was decided that we would have meetings a little more often, but then try to get the project accomplished a little bit faster. Next, please. What's important for you guys? So you guys will stay informed. The next presentation, what you'll get will be probably after the steering committee meets and we kind of have some ideas. And that'll probably be presented by either Meredith or Derek, which are the consultants that we're working with. Whenever we have meetings, whenever we have public engagement, you know, obviously we always look forward to having you guys there and participating, but also every one of you talks to other people. And if nobody shows up to a meeting to tell us how to develop a strategy, then Bob, Rob, Chief, Gigi, and I are sitting around going, this sounds good. So, you know, inviting your friends to the party. I'll bring food, it'll be fun. We love the Durban cook. It'll be great. He makes great barbecue. And then once we get to the end, I mean, it is your guys' plan that you guys will either choose to adopt or not. I'm hoping you guys take an active role in creating it. So then therefore it's not a stretch for you guys to adopt it. So that way we can move forward later with the adoption and you can start working on some grant writing with it. Next, please. The idea, the whole point is to reduce crashes and injuries. As everyone in town, I think knows, there was a fatality this last month. You know, a gentleman out running or walking or lost on the side of the road or in the middle of the road. I don't really know what the details were because I wasn't involved. But would he have been there if he'd had a sidewalk? Would he have been there if we had a safe biking lane? You know, maybe that would have been prevented. Maybe it wouldn't have. I don't know. So we want safer routes to school. If you've ever taken a kid to Marsh Elementary, you know that the only way to walk down those streets is in the middle of it because the cars park along the side and there's no sidewalk. You know, you go to Bill Metz Elementary and there's broken sidewalks along the way. So improving those safety routes to school so that we can have some good ways to get there. And then hopefully, you know, the community gets behind it and we can continue to do some really good stuff. This is what we'll be doing next. We've already started with the public outreach. Abby has sent out some doodle polls and working on trying to get people to sign up for the steering committee dates and trying to get the people to start being engaged. She's got an entire spreadsheet of names and phone numbers that we'll start reaching out to once we have some good dates. Data collection's already been going on, and then the steering committee, and then we'll get ready for your guys' review. Hopefully it will be a good and enjoyable, and we can find some really good opportunities to fund the improvements we want to go have going forward. And the nice thing about most of these grants is they're either little to no match. The safe routes to schools is 0 match. The SS4A is only a 10% match. So if we can find, you know, continue to find grants like that where we can match at low rates, then it makes the project much more feasible, and we can go for larger projects at the time. I think that's the last one. I think we talked about all of that. Any questions, guys? That was a lot.
It's great. Very thorough, thank you. Did you get quite a few names already?
Yes, from back from well.
And positive input, I think, right?
Yes.
Nobody's been like, no, I won't play.
All have been very eager.
Good,
I don't,
thank you, DJ.
I don't think Ashley's really been introduced to council. I mean Abby, I'm sorry. It's like, what'd I say?
Ashley.
Oh, Ashley. Well, I got a call. She's later in the program. Abby, what I,
This is Abby Miles. Have you guys met her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she presented.
That's right. She did present while you were out.
She said.
Okay.
Yeah, she did present one.
Thank you for being
Thank you,
here.
guys.
Thanks, DJ. Thanks, Abby. Abby.
Ashley.
Abby, Addie, Ashley.
Okay. So, we'll move on to resolution. Resolution 2026-06, a resolution amending signatory authority on checks and other related instruments for the city of Monte Vista, Colorado.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is Resolution 2026-06. This is a resolution, it's just changing the signatory authority on the checks. With you changing the Mayor Pro Tem, we need to remove Victor Segola from signing checks, add Mayor Pro Tem Lauren Howard. And then after discussion with Gigi Dennis, we would like to also add Finance Director Judy Phillips to the signatory of the checks. Just need approval on that.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2026-06, a resolution amending signatory authority on checks and other related instruments for the city of Monte Vista.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2026-06, a resolution amending signatory authority on checks and other related instruments for the city of Monte Vista. Is there any discussion?
May I just add, since you're asking for discussion, it is a dual signature process, so. We're good.
Anita?
Councilor Bradshaw,
Aye.
Councilor Morano,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2026-02 or 06. A resolution amending the signatory authority on checks and other related instruments for the city of Monte Vista. And then just so you know too, Judy and I would never sign the checks. It would always have to be either myself and a council member, you or Mayor Pro Tem Howard, or Judy and one of you.
Okay.
Never seen it.
Resolution 2026-07, an amendment of the 2025 budget of the city of Monte Vista. And it had to be money with you standing up.
Right there, right. I apologize, I'm getting a cold, so I know you have trouble hearing me anyway, so it's probably gonna be worse tonight, but here we go. Nita, where are you going? I forgot to put the detail in the packet with the resolution, so Nita was gonna just bring it up there like you're really gonna want to see it, but there it is.
It's in there.
That part, I don't think that part was in there, so. Anyway. So I have a budget amendment to amend appropriations in the 2025 budget. In order to stay compliant with state statute, a budget amendment is required anytime expenditures exceed appropriations in any fund. Since most of our projects are grant funded, and while we may budget accurately for them in 1 year, the work rarely all gets done within that 1 year, thus making next year's budget short. This also happens if a project comes in over budget, as is the case with the alleyway project. And until the final invoices come in and are paid and accounted for. We don't always know where we stand until a few weeks or months into the next fiscal year. So I have 3 funds that I'm amending just to make sure that our budget matches up with our expenditures. The first is the airport grant fund. The airport crack seal project was budgeted accurately in 2025. However, some additional expenditures from the 2024 grant have leaked into the 2025 budget. This requires an amendment, and there will be an equal revenue and expenditure to cover this, so no change will be made in the fund balance. In the Kids Connection Fund, I made a transfer from the general fund to cover overage of expenses to revenue. And while the prior budget amendment allowed for a small dip into the Kids Connection Fund balance, I will need to cover the additional expenditures with this budget amendment and use the transfer from the general fund to cover. This amendment will not require any further change to fund balance. The Capital Improvement Fund generally supports the Capital Projects Fund. The alleyway project, as you know, has come in over budget for both engineering and material. I believe you approved in March to use capital improvement funds to cover this overage. As we got down to the final payments in 2025, the expenditures exceeded budget appropriations by $44,669. And because the original budget allowed for a positive net revenue, no money will need to be expended from fund balance in 2025. We'll have to see what 2026 brings. Do you have any questions? If not, I'll read the resolution.
Questions, guys? No?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, you sure? Okay.
You done?
Well, I'll read the resolution if you want me to.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not gonna read all the figures, so unless you want me to. Resolution 2026-07, resolution to amend sums of money for the 2025 budget. Whereas the City Council of the City of Monte Vista has conducted a public hearing to review the proposed 2025 budget in accordance with Home Rule Charter and approved the 2025 budget on November 21st, 2024. And whereas the City of Monte Vista has made provisions therein for revenues in the amount equal to or greater than the total proposed expenditures as set forth in said budget. And whereas it is not only required by law and the City of Monte Vista Home Rule Charter, but also, if necessary, amend the revenues expenditures provided in the budget and for the purpose described below, as not to impair the operation of the city. And whereas the revenue expenditures have increased in the Kids Connection Fund, and whereas the revenue and expenditures have increased in the Airport Fund to accommodate the remaining expenditure from the 2024 grant cycle. And whereas $214,088 was designated as grant match and a $214,613 shortfall in the alleyway project was approved by City Council on March 20th, 2025. Funds will be transferred for the Capital Improvement Fund to cover the completion of the project. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Monte Vista that we amend the appropriation of funds, and the following sums are hereby appropriated for the following funds.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-07. A resolution to amend the sums of money for the 2025 budget.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2026-07, amendment of the 2025 budget of the City of Monte Vista. Is there any discussion? Unita?
Counselor Bradshaw,
Aye.
Counselor Naranjo,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2026-07 and an amendment of the 2025 budget of the City of Monte Vista.
Okay,
Thank
we
you.
will. Thank you, Unita. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
We will move on to staff proposals, reports, and actions. Kids Connection.
So Anika could not be here tonight, and so she submitted her report and then wrote it out. They are at the 4th quarter of the school year, which means that they need to start preparing for the summer attendance program. And she expects 45 to 50 children consistently during the summer months. Sometime that exceeds in the upwards of 80 to 90. And so that's when we get into challenges as far as the adequate number of ratio of employees in order to watch the kids. She is working with Abby on a fundraiser for Kids Connection. And so you'll be hearing more as that develops. But I think it's important for us to have some sort of a fundraiser that raises attention within the community of what Kids Connection is and how important it is for so many workers that use that facility. We did get a new hire in there, and so we're excited about that. You know, she has a challenge of being able to recruit and keep people there, primarily because it's a part-time job. So it's part-time after school and then all day on Fridays. And then during the summer months, we need them all day, Monday through Friday. So it's just a challenge in order to find somebody that only wants to work a couple hours in the afternoon. And she'll be back the next time for her updates.
Thank you, Gigi.
Yes, sir.
Recreation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So recreation. So we're just in our basketball season. We just had a big basketball tournament that was held out at Sangre. Our 5th and 6th grade teams now, we had 3 teams that entered out of 8 teams. So they took 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and that lost a heartbreaker to go to the championship game. One of our teams did. So, and same thing with 3rd and 4th grade in that. We had 2 teams in that. And actually they played a playing game against each other. And I had to referee it, so I almost got booed out of the gym. But you know how that goes. But one of our teams took 3rd, and that lost a heartbreaker again to go to the championship game. I mean, it was by 2 points. Each team lost by 2 points. So we had some really good games there. As far as recreation goes, we are now preparing for soccer registrations, and we are expecting about 80 kids to be in our soccer program. We have 76 jerseys, so it'll be fun. So, but we will definitely get some more jerseys and that to get all the kids taken care of. As far as that goes too, the park across from Sonic, we are getting ready to renovate that park. We received, like I said last time, $30,000 from War Foundation. Now they set the dates this time in May that will get renovated. There will be a new basketball court there, and there will be new pickleball courts there. So those will be renovated out there, be hopefully noisy during the summer with kids playing basketball as well as adults and kids playing pickleball. So that's exciting. So that's it for recreation.
Is the soccer gonna be held over here at Chapman? Like
Yes,
it has?
all the soccer games again will be held at Chapman Park. So everyone will come here on Saturdays. We'll have food trucks out there. Referees, we normally have like 5 games going on at a time. If you come to the 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, we have 2 5th and 6th grade fields, 1 3rd, 4th grade field, 2 1st and 2nd grade fields, and then 3 pre-K fields that we put out there, and everyone comes here to play. So pray for me, okay? We're in charge of that. So we're in charge of that, but it's awesome. It's really cool to see that the numbers that are out there, everyone coming here to Chapman Park, the entire league from Sangre to Creed, everyone will be here for that. So it's a lot of fun most of the time. So that's it for recreation. Any questions?
The pickleball court and the basketball court, is they gonna be built on the north end of the park where the old?
Yes.
There's like old basketball courts there
Mhm.
a long time ago, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
So it
That's
will
what
be
I thought.
down there. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Dervin, do you want to talk a little bit about the tennis court,
Which one?
the one at the golf course?
One at the golf course? We are having them come out again. When they come out in May, the tennis courts will be redone again now because we did find some cracks and some spots on the tennis court that need work. So they are going to be recovered in May as well when they come out. Same company's coming out to do the pickleball and basketball courts. Just came out and did the tennis courts, but there's some issues over there that are going to be taken care of in May as well. Same company. So we're going to take care of both in May. We get presidents over schools and that, because they have to work around school times now, so they come out in May. We're actually the first ones on their list, because I told them that I have 6 to 8 young ladies threatening my life if that tennis court doesn't get taken care of. So we are definitely getting that taken care of. The tennis courts will be redone in May, and hopefully it's early May. They have to have 50-degree weather in order to coat it and whatnot. So is that it? Okay.
On to Sky High.
Sky High, exciting. It's been fun out at Sky High. Like I said, we have a super staff that's out there that's really working well together and really coming together as a staff. And we received lots of compliments on the way that we're running things, the way that we're doing things, and that. And so we haven't gotten anything thrown at us yet or anything. I did not realize, though, in this town, how many people know Gigi Dennis. Everybody knows Gigi Dennis. Well, we talk to Gigi, and then they call Gigi, and Gigi just refers them back to me, so they get the same answer that I got from Gigi. But that's awesome that Gigi refers them back, and so that's nice. We had 25 events at Sky High. Between now and the last time that we met, including the ag conference, which I think some of you attended the ag conference and that. And there was a whole lot of doubt of us getting the rooms turned and that. I think it was seen and proven and that by what some of the comments that people made, not that they walked out and into another room for a meeting, and by the time they came back, they were in wow as far as how quickly we could turn the rooms. And that goes to having the seasonals there rather than having that extra full-time person. Because we bring those guys in, that really gives us a big help as far as turning rooms and that, and just getting set up and take down 4 different rooms and whatnot. Right now, for the next 2 weeks, it's kind of slow out at Sky High. So we are doing lots of cleaning and washing down walls and whatnot. And so Sky High is fun, lots of fun. And I'll have more information for you all the next time. We are planning on doing some things in that. One of the things that we're going to be doing in that, I had told Stretch, and he started dancing. So
Yeah.
he's got some pretty good moves over there.
I was there at the barber, but yeah.
That's it for Sky High. Any questions for Sky High, or did I miss anything?
I don't have any questions for you, but I am one of them that's seen that. I went into that meeting, was in there for 3.5 hours, and there were still people turned down when I went in. And when I came out, the main building was totally empty. I was like, holy cow, fantastic. And you guys had also set up that other room for that next day. So kudos.
Thank you. We appreciate that. That means a lot.
Dervin, do you want to mention anything about getting ready next for the Crane Festival?
Again, pray for us. Yeah, so right now we're getting set up for the Crane Festival. We're getting ready to meet with different individuals with the Crane Festival. Someone called and wanted to put some type of snakes and reptiles in one room. And the answer was not only no, but heck no. And for that, so they did call and ask us first, which we appreciated. But we are getting ready for the Crane Festival. That's what the cleaning and the setup. We're getting ready to mark the event center for the different vendors that are going to be back there. And we met with I think it was 32 vendors, and they do know that they have to have a license. We had someone special come out and give them a speech. And not threaten them, but tell them they need to get their license. So hopefully everyone will have their license. And I've been told that make sure that everyone has their license there. So, right? Okay. So yeah, next week, and I'm sure next time, or I guess we'll Crane Fest will be over by the next time that I get to present, but we're meeting with folks next week to do the setup and find out what's really going on at Crane Festival, because this is my first one, so I look forward to it. I don't know if I'll be saying that at the next meeting though, but you know, we look forward to it, the challenge of it, so.
Sure you will. You're always positive, so keep it that way.
Oh, yeah, always positive. Never change that. So, any questions? Sky High, Recreation? Thank you.
Durbin, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, EJ.
That's nice, Okay, I'll be a lot faster this time. Land use code is
Don't be
going
too
to.
much faster.
Gigi, that's time to talk too fast. Land use code is going to Planning and Zoning Commission next week for its final draft review. So after we're done with that final draft review, they'll hopefully recommend that it comes to you guys for approval. Once it gets that recommendation from them, we're gonna start some final community engagement opportunities. Talked to you guys a couple of times about it. We're gonna do extra because I do anticipate there being some hurt feelings over this. It's a complete rewrite of 3 different chapters of the municipal code. And some people have had the same municipal code for going on 20 years. So, you know, there will be some challenges for some people. So I expect there to be a little bit of entertainment for that. So we're gonna do a little bit of extra community engagement between when planning and zoning says, hey, yep, we're good to go. And then before it shows up for you guys, we'll have a work session. And the intent of the extra ones is to, you know, there could be things where somebody says, hey, I think that we could do this a little bit differently, or I didn't see this addressed. And then that way I understand that we can't have a perfect code, and we will have to amend it probably the month after it comes out, because somebody will point out something that I missed, or the council missed, or planning and zoning missed. But I want to reduce that as much as possible. So we're going to do a couple extra reviews. I mean, like right now, I'm running it through 2 different AI programs. Abby's reviewing it for, did all the commas go in the right place? She catches a lot of them, almost as many as Gigi. And then also, you know, we're sending some stuff over to Brad for just to check. As we run through certain pieces and parts, it says, hey, this may violate one rule or another. We just want to make sure that it doesn't. So making some good changes on that one, but we should have the final draft to them next week for their final review, which is kind of exciting because it's consumed my life for about 2 years now. So I'll be glad to be done with that 180 something page document. The building services is up and running. We're going to go with mostly smooth. There's some learning curve, but it hasn't been too bad. I'm really happy with the Comprehensive Building Code Services, which is the consultant that we hired. Nothing but positive reviews from the contractors that are dealing with them. The permit process has been a little bit bumpy. We've got some that have, you know, just taken us a little bit longer to kind of figure out, and just making sure that we're doing it correctly. We have mischarged a few of them to start off with, but always to their benefit, so not so much to ours. A little bit here, a little bit there. It's not been a huge impact. We are at 18 permits as of today, with $23,000 in income for the building services department. In addition to that, last April, you guys approved the fast track approval for affordable housing projects. Basically, you guys just approved a procedure that we already met and exceeded. And the reason we asked you guys to do that was it created a $50,000 payment from the governor that said we can use it for anything we want so long as it's inside the planning department. And we had to tell them what we were going to spend it on. So it wasn't a grant. We didn't have to apply for anything. It was just that once we finished that procedure, then we were able to get that money. So this last month we worked through, and basically what we did is we took all of the things we needed to make the building services department run smoothly for the next 2 years, and we tried to roll it all up into that. So it came to about $46,000. I sent that information over to DOLA. They approved the expenditure request as far as what we wanted to spend it on. And then they told me to pad it and bring it up to the total of 50,000. So I did. And the mayor signed the document that says this is how we're going to spend the money tonight. So the way that they're going to provide us those funds, because there's only so many ways apparently the state can give us money. Just writing us a check isn't an option. So they're going to drop it into our land planning capacity grant that we already have, and they're going to bump that by $50,000. So we didn't have to apply for it, we didn't amend anything, they're just gonna put it into that account, so we'll draw it from there. At that point, our building service department will have all of the software we need, the equipment we need to make sure that it's fairly well run for the next 2 years. The software that we're looking at right now is very cheap. It'll cost us about $6,000 per year. But it comes with a phone service. So if you want to put in a building permit and you're having problems with running the program that you got to run through, you call that phone number and they answer the phone and they answer all the questions. If you can't get it to upload, you email it to them, they'll upload it. So it takes a lot of stress off of our department. We didn't have to have an FTE to run as an assistant for that, which, I mean, Rio Grande County has somebody who, that's what her job is to do those kinds of things and help those customers. So it kind of kept us without having to have an FTE for it. So I really like this program. It also comes with some code enforcement stuff that will help the PD as far as streamline some of their processes and stuff. So really happy with how that's kind of playing out. Urban Renewal Authority, all the new members were appointed by you guys early this month. We had our meeting just before you guys appointed them. They elected John Myers to be the chair and Randy Ellis to be the co-chair. And then Cheryl Smith is going to be the secretary. The appraisals are complete for the properties they own. Surveys are done. There is going to be some boundary line adjustments. There was some adverse possession done on one of the properties by a couple of different owners. So we'll have to adjust some boundaries on it. All of that's covered under the grant. So we're moving forward with that. We should be able to start working on selling one of the properties. And then hopefully the Rio Grande Community Trust gets their grant and they can purchase the other 3. So hopefully that kind of moves forward, and then that allows the URA to look forward to what the next project is. So hopefully they can decide on a good direction and we can start trying to figure out ways to fund that. Those are the highlights for the last month. Any questions? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, DJ.
Thanks, DJ.
City Attorney. Mr. Crop.
Thanks.
Gentlemen, thank you. Since I saw you last, we're still dealing with a fair amount of HR issues, which I can't talk about, so that shortens my report to some degree. Let me just say that your HR director or manager or whatever official title is earning her pay. And so we've worked closely with that. It was some ongoing issues that we're dealing with, trying to prevent any future discussions at meetings and executive sessions. I continue to work with DJ, and the amount of work he's put in on that land use code is amazing. I don't see how he does his job. He seems to do both, but I've worked with teams before that put together a product like that, and he and Abby, anyway, I'm impressed and amazed, and I appreciate their hard work because it sure reduces mine. So I'm trying to help him where I can. We've got a few provisions, as he stated, and I appreciate it. Include me on we might have missed something list, but I'm on it. So, we'll see, but it's a great work product from what I've seen, and we've been looking through it, and I'm really excited about all of the work that you guys have done and the detail and the amount of effort they put in it. And I wanted to brag on them for a minute, because like I said, in other areas of my practice, I've worked with teams that it took to put together that, and here's your team right here. So that's been great. Did a little bit of background research on public-private partnerships. Not sure if that's going to go anywhere, and attended a meeting where that was discussed. Worked a fair amount aggravating the heck out of Nita and Sarah over Cassell, and I want to thank them publicly for their patience, but we had some glitches. It's running. And so I'm trying to revamp the structure of how we do court. So the cases, I guess, as of today, have all been analyzed in the system. I've made recommendations and notes for the judge. I've notified the judge that he can go in and review not only the case, but he can review my thoughts, my recommendations, all that's done ahead of time when we get to court. So we're not sitting there opening up a file and saying, what are we doing? Who is this? That's already done. And it's already done on the Cassell system that is now working. It just kind of magically decided to cooperate after about, a week or at least 3 or 4 days of it. So for those details, the bottom line is it's working, it's done, we're ready for next Thursday. As a part of that, I've recommended certain individuals in our community that I think that would be better suited in a state system, and where that's up to our chief and not me. I can make recommendations and here's why. That's all been done. And the reasons why, because we want to make some progress with some of your repeat offenders. And I've also got a call into the DA. She's finishing up a 2-week murder trial. So we'll get together next week, she said, and we're going to talk about, hey, if we send these over, they might seem minor in your world or your scheme of things. However, they're major, and here's why. And I've already mentioned that to her. Chief and I both mentioned it to her, and she's open to that. So my job is to try to get her to take on some of these repeat offenders, even though they're smaller offenses. They do them all the time. You know, they're in there every week doing the same thing, and we want to stop that. We want to gain traction. Also spoke briefly, I guess, with the sheriff about we need to get together, and I've also spoke with the Rio Grande County Attorney, Nancy Lake, that we need to put together something with regard to the jail. What's that look like, and funding and an MOU and some, you know, whatever contract makes our sheriff happy. And I told her I wouldn't want that job. Just running the jail is something else. So we've had some initial discussions. We're waiting, I think, on the county's draft of an MOU, and we'll look at that, but that's also in the works and also something that I've already gotten together with them on. If I missed anything, I do itemize my hours too and send them to Gigi if you ever wonder what I'm doing. I just don't publish those because some of it may involve suggestions or content that might be attorney-client privilege communications. But certainly if you guys ever want to get a detail of where my time's going, and if you want me to put more in one area and less in another, or if you have any input, I'm certainly open to that. But I wanted to mention that in detail for you guys. I just don't walk you through that in great detail here in a public forum. Is that it? We do a lot. We do it fast and we keep it rolling. So I may have forgotten something. Do you have any questions about any of it?
Not tonight.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, you're welcome to drop by Thursday. We'll see if it runs. Not that it ran badly, but that hopefully it's going to run better and smoother. And as we implement this new system, it is the way I like to do things. And I hope Nita loves it too.
Thank you, Brad.
And Sarah.
Sir.
City manager.
It really has been nice to have the clerk be happy in regards to working with our new attorney and the efficiency that they're doing. Brad wants to go paperless, and that has saved the clerk's office a lot of time and a lot of copies and a lot of sharing folders, files back and forth. So we appreciate that.
We are paperless, right?
We are.
We're not just trying.
There you go.
Done. Yes, ma'am.
So thank you, both of you. So Brad mentioned briefly, we did meet with the Stampede Committee and then one other individual that may have been interested in a public-private partnership for the remaining funds that we needed for the generator project out at Sky High. And I heard a new little phrase today that at this point, we're going to put a pin in it, and I'll bring you back around as soon as we get a few more details. But we're going to have to scale back that project. You know, I want to stick with the budget and the funding that we raised, which is a little over 1.2 million. And at least from the money that we got from DOLA, it's strictly in the scope. And then we're finessing parts of it that we would have from the federal side. But basically, we're going to have to do away with the RV spaces. And that was rather an added bonus. But we've got a kind of a workaround as far as at least possibly providing some other additional electric outlets. I think it's still going to be a very good project, and we're still going to meet the intent of what we wanted for this to be an emergency center. The whole building will have a diesel fueled generator that will cover both sides of the building, the event center side as well as the conference side. It will have a bathhouse, and it will have restrooms. And so some of those from within the Stampede Committee met with Rob and DJ today, so that if there potentially could still be a slight gap of fundings, the Stampede Committee is looking at putting the balance into that. But I'm kind of banging a hard stick of we need to get this project so it's within the funding that we have. So I've talked to DOLA. They're good with it. We can meet all the conditions of our grant with them, and we will be making amendment to the federal one. So, and bottom line, if there was an emergency, if there was an evacuation, we've got a huge parking lot out there that we can line up a lot of RVs or campers or trailers, or you know, the pens for animals or whatever it would be. So we can still accommodate the San Luis Valley, because that's what we said, it'd be a regional evacuation center. I did get appointed to the Aeronautical Board. I will go to Denver March the 2nd for my confirmation hearing. I've already reached out to Senator Simpson, so plan on meeting with him while I'm there. Let's see. I heard from Mike Oldham. He's the superintendent at the National Wildlife Refuge down south. I think they want to try and come in possibly at the next meeting and give you all an update on what's going on out there. He said already about 3,000 cranes are in the valley. And so they are also gearing up for the Crane Festival. And they've put a little water out there for them so the cranes have a place to drink and start. They turned or cut down, I'm not exactly sure, but the barley that they've planted out there so that the cranes have something to eat, and all those little migratory birds will be happy. Last night we had a good neighborhood watch meeting, and Corporal Hill gave a nice presentation regarding the safety of just how to store your firearms. And they gave away a firearm, a lockbox. The Upper Rio, this is kind of a big deal. Our big sidewalk project, the MMOF, we refer to it as, the one from Alta to Sky High that we've talked about for the last 3.5 years, is on the danger list of the Joint Budget Committee. So tomorrow I'll be writing a letter to all 6 of those explaining the amount of hundreds of hours CDOT has put into this. Rob has put in lots and lots of hours of planning. And here we're to the point where we're ready to put it out to bid this spring. And we'll probably then be able to start construction as early fall. And, you know, the JBC is suddenly looking at whacking those dollars and doing away not only with our project, but others that have to do with anything with bike lanes, sidewalks, kind of that whole pedestrian safety zone type stuff. So we are concerned with that. We just heard about that today. And then I've emailed you, you all know, we're trying to see what the new road is going to be for the Upper Rio Grande Economic Development Council. We did a little survey from those people, said they wanted to meet at lunch, which that surprised me because I'd rather meet at 7 in the morning and, you know, move on with my day. But we're going to try a lunch. We're going to try quarterly lunches. We have enough in that Upper Rio Grande funding source that we're just going to pay for the lunches for this year, and then see if there's enough interest to actually really get it lifted off its feet again. The speaker is going to be Wendy Martinez, who is actually out of Salida, but she's our representative from the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade. And I'll be putting together a list of other suggested programs in the future. Right now, we've got 60 that have RSVP'd. So I think that's a very positive sign that at least we're getting some interest. And And hopefully those aren't all just from Monty, because we'll rotate those meetings. The next quarterly one is going to be in Del Norte, because it's St. Patrick's Day, and I said I wanted to serve corned beef sandwiches. And that's not true. That's our board meeting. The next meeting for this, though, is gonna be at the hospital conference room in Del Norte. So that's it. I'll just, staff's really busy with all kinds of things, and so we'll keep y'all informed.
Bill?
Yep. Any questions?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Not for Ms. Jenna, not for Ms. Dennis, but when she's done.
So thank you for letting me take some time off last week. It was delightful.
You got back in time for it to get cold.
That's okay. It's warm. 8 days.
Council committee, city commission, and council reports. Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Had a nice meeting with San Valley Federal Bank today. Talking about maybe doing a better job of the money we have to invest and making some interest off that. So it was a good meeting. We'll see what happens.
Good. Keep on.
Yep.
That it, sir?
That's it. All right,
Councilman Bradshaw?
Not much really. Things like cleaned up. I noticed some of the guys out cleaning park, picking up trash. So you guys are doing a good job.
Councilman Naranjo?
I think the city's looking awesome. The momentum looks like it's starting to really swing our way with the buildings. Is it the Dollar Tree going up?
Family
Or
Dollar.
the Family
No,
Dollar?
General.
Dollar General.
Dollar.
Dollar General.
Yeah,
Get it?
between that and, all the other stuff going on, it looks nice. Looks like momentum's really swinging our way for sure.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Maybe
There's a lot of projects going on right now at once, so it's.
There are. And the apartment complex, they've been working on it behind the Legacy. That's going. And the modular home manufacturing plant, they probably won't actually be building until the end of this year, beginning of next year. But the outside of that building is also looking really nice. So,
That corner where across from Dairy Queen sure looks different, but it looks nice.
they've got that hole filled in.
Well, I want to thank all the city for what they're doing. It is, you see them out and about, cleaning stuff up, getting stuff ready for springtime, which is good. We still have our little problem areas, but it's being addressed. I see it, so. Again, you see something, say something. Even if you feel like it falls on deaf ears, it is not falling on deaf ears. They're hearing it. They're trying to get it all handled. So I'm excited about that. So we're one step at a time to get it cleaned up. And yes, sir, Brad.
I'm out of order, Mr. Mayor, but one other thing I wanted to mention along those lines is I went through and at least redid what I thought were some of the glaring issues or problems. Let me define that. Certain provisions, I think they're working against us, and also try to take our criminal code and match a change in the state law. And I mention it because it's coming before you guys probably at some point here to go ahead and amend our criminal code, but that's been done too. And I'm sorry, I'm out of order. That was something I just wanted to mention because you'll see it probably soon or here in the future.
That's all right. It just cost you 10 hours of free
Legal
pro
service.
bono work.
You want to hear how much I've already banked? So you can deduct that from, yeah, you can deduct it if you'd like, sir. We're good.
Or just stay diligent for our community. So. It's really all I have. Now we will be going into executive session. So Gene, thank you for being here. Marie, Margot. Is it Addie or Abby? Abby. So
Addie, I called you Abby, didn't I?
I,
That's what, yeah, I had it right.
you too, Marie. Thank you guys. Thanks, Shane. Appreciate you, man.
See ya.
It's.
I don't wanna run you all off.
Sometimes in my business.
DJ's not talking anymore, but y'all can leave.
So anyway, we'll get together on this. I did a quick email, but it's a
So, Mr. Mayor,
legally.
it's gonna cut off Zoom. And, so you guys need to go into recess and then.
Then
she'll
come
cut
back
it off
into-
And then bring it back up.
I need you to read the first part.
Or
I need you guys to vote to go into executive session
And then you'll
first.
clear it out.
And then I will. cut off the Zoom.
right, no recess. You're still continuing the meeting, but it'll be an executive and then you'll be
Okay.
done. Then you'll come out and announce we're out of executive session. Here's the time and then you are at recess.
I make that motion go into executive session.
Second it.
It's been
Sorry,
moved,
who made the motion?
Lauren,
Thank you.
here.
been moved and seconded to go into executive session. The executive session for a conference with the city attorney and retained outside counsel. And retained outside counsel for the purpose of receiving legal advice on pending litigation regarding the Garcia case under CRS section 24-6. 4024B. The city attorney has reviewed the information and materials to be discussed and certifies it contains protected attorney-client privileges, privileged communication, and therefore the executive session will not be recorded. Is there any discussion? Unita?
Counselor Bradshaw,
Aye.
Counselor Naranjo,
Bye.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Becker,
Aye.
motion carries to go into executive session.
Are they on?
No, so give me just 1 second. I will need to end this one.
Say thank you. for those-
Thank you all that have joined us this evening.